Hello, I'm Toycat and welcome back to another Let's Play channel video. Today I've got some Fortnite gameplay to share with you all, where I'm going to be using the scoped assault rifle, the semi-automatic sniper rifle, and the tactical shotgun. And I'm not using these weapons because it's funny and I'm just being memey, and it's not just because I picked up bad weapons and I'm making the best of it. No, I used these three weapons because they were the best weapons that I could have at the time of recording this gameplay. And I figured this would be a great example of, like the Fortnite meta in practice, because the truth is the Fortnite meta has changed a whole bunch, with the exception of the scoped assault rifle, which did get a tiny nerf and the scope looks a little different. With the exception of that weapon, the other weapons have stayed relatively the same, compared to the rest of the game, which means that the only thing has changed, the only reason that these guns are considered trash, like, worthless, not even worth picking up today, is because of the Fortnite meta, which is something I wanted to explain today, because no other shooter game has a meta as developed as Fortnite's. I mean, arguably PUBG, but even then, nowhere near the same level of meta that Fortnite has, and that's a really interesting thing. What is a meta, and why does Fortnite have one? Well, meta is a term which describes something being outside the game, and essentially in this case, we're using it to describe the outside the game knowledge of which weapons are best, which weapons are worth picking up, and therefore which weapons are used the most. And because Fortnite has a huge array of weapons now, when it first came out in this gameplay, there was maybe like 10 different ones, now there's more like 20 or 30, but because it has a huge range of weapons, these weapons, assuming they're all balanced, are all best at different areas. The fully auto assault rifle is known as just the best weapon, but the truth is, it's best at just a lot of different things, and people like the versatility. But nowadays, you'll notice how like the assault rifle, the full auto one, or the scope one, they're not known as the best, instead the burst rifle is. So what is the cause for that? Why do these weapons change in their strength, despite the fact that they're not changing in the code? Because if you're a casual observer, you might just see everyone using pump shotguns now, and think, oh, I guess they must have buffed them in some way, but the truth is the opposite. They've nerfed them 2 or 3 times now, actually to keep things, so I guess the tactical shotgun's got more powerful, but people use it less now, and, the same is true for the burst rifle. They haven't buffed that in any way. In fact, again, it had a similar slight nerf at one point, and again, the semi-auto sniper rifle, the burst sniper rifle, the semi-auto and the bolt action one, they have the same damage as they used to have. So what's the deal? Well, the Fortnite meta changed. So again, because Fortnite is a game where you're facing 99 other opponents, the majority, the thing that the majority of players is doing is actually really important to you as a player. Why is it so important? Well, it's really important because, the most done thing is going to affect the combat distance you engage in. So let's split the weapons up into close, medium, and long range. Again, we'll talk about the shotgun first, because the burst rifle actually wins me, the scope rifle wins me the game, which I really love. But the tactical shotgun is a really good weapon for killing people who are moving around a lot at a close to medium range, because you can fire 8 separate times. You'll probably kill them in 2 or 3 shots, and the fact that you can kill so fast without needing precise accuracy is something people do quite like. However, nowadays you'll notice that instead of people, engaging at the distance of the tactical shotgun, they're either at, right next to someone where they can get a one-hit kill, then the pump shotgun's the best, or they're going to engage at the distance, medium-ish range, let's call it, where they can use their tactical submachine gun, and they're going to try and, be kind of tricky so people can't be shot that way, and instead that they can just weave in and out and fire their tactical submachine gun, get those 35 rounds of death off, and even though it takes 10 bullets to kill with a tactical submachine gun versus, 2 or 3 of a shotgun, the fact that you're using so many is the reason that works. The same thing actually kind of goes with the semi-auto and the bolt action. So you saw me use it right there. That guy was just standing over the cliff. He had no fear of a sniper rifle because bolt action sniper rifles weren't common. So because people weren't scared of bolt action snipers, they kind of would go right into, you'd have a 1v1 view where you could just see each other, and that meant the semi-auto was pretty good, because if you miss your shot, you could fire another one right off, and it did almost the same damage. It's like 70 versus 100. It's still that way to this day. It's just right now, you're going to get 1 shot off with your bolt action, then they're going to peek back down. You have to make it count, you only get 1 shot, you can't miss your chance to blow, whatever, because, if you do it that way, you're gonna, there's no point doing 70 damage. Someone will heal up again. They've got a billion healing items, and so you need to do good damage all at once, whereas back then, because people weren't as scared, they were using the semi-autos more because it was a really useful way to fire, and you had a good chance of hitting twice in a row, way better than you had a chance of hitting once out of, 5 shots instead. And yeah, that's basically the reason that's changed is the Fortnite meta. Like I said, as people get used to different weapons, the best weapons against the most common weapon then changes. So again, to give you a good example of this, if they, when the, like the submachine gun is dominant, now the shotgun has a chance to shine, because the only way to beat a submachine gun is to not be at close range with them, let them get that close, or it's to use the shotgun at even closer ranges, which means that as the game is always developing, and not just in terms of it's getting that once-a-week update, the game is always developing in terms of which weapon is the best. The best weapon depends on the people in your game, and because you don't know who the people in your game are, that's changing all the time. It's like a game of rock, paper, scissors, and if the Epic Games team, if Fortnite are developing this properly, which it seems like they're really putting a big effort into, which is why they, make 4 or 5 equivalent weapons, why put the, minigun into the game after all these other things? Why have the guided missiles? It's to have that meta of somewhat somewhat similar weapons that are always changing. So right now, the legendary Scar is the best in the game, except is it, or is it the blue burst rifle? You don't know for sure because it depends on the situation. Like burst rifle, better for shooting through cover and then getting them behind that. So in a cover heavy meta, you need to have that. And because all these factors are working kind of independently, you don't see it as like, oh, well, people are doing this more than they're doing that. Most players just see it as, oh, I saw someone kill me with a tactical submachine gun. I guess they happen to be good now, and I really love that kind of just. It's again the fact if it was happening in the plain sight, like how it happens in most shooters to this day. Think about Call of Duty. You use the FAMAS because the FAMAS is the best, and it just statistically kills the best in most ranges, and then the FAMAS stays dominant the whole year round. Or sometimes they nerf it, but without nerfing anything. Again, they've only nerfed the shotgun. They've only they've buffed at the submachine guns, but they've and not even by very much. Without nerfing or buffing anything or nerfing and buffing only the bare minimum, they've managed to make a game where people have actually gone to the stage of making their own meta. And I feel like, that was probably intentional. Maybe it wasn't, maybe it was. But the way they've done it is so artful that it means the only way to know, the best way to win a Fortnite game is to know the people in the game. The second best way is to keep up to date with the Fortnite meta, which is going to change. Which is why this gameplay, where again, I'm using 3 really clunky weapons. The 3 clunkiest weapons in the game to this day, right? Like, oh, a burst, maybe, Magnum's worth. But, the fact that, like, the Magnum, which was the worst weapon in the game, and it still kind of is, it's slowly getting viable because it works almost as good as the hand cannon. The fact that all of these weapons are slowly rising and falling in power level every single day the game is played. Every single game you see someone use a weapon, you're like, oh, I should give that a try. And then suddenly, and the fact that it's random, the fact that you can't always get your right weapon, means people have to experiment, people have to change their ways, and that is the beauty of Fortnite and the Fortnite meta, and I wanted to talk about it and share it with you all in today's video. There you go, there are my thoughts, because again, I've wanted to get them out for a while now. That's how the game changes. It's a game of rock, paper, scissors, where you have to know, most people, it's like in real life, most people say rock when they do rock, paper, scissors, so the rock, paper, scissors meta means use paper. But if that gets too widely known, suddenly everyone's going to have to use scissors, and it's the same endlessly repeating cycle in Fortnite, and that is beautiful game design that you don't even necessarily realize. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Again, it's my first ever victory royale from like September. It was like 3 days after the game came out, something like that. It was on a stream. I put my face cam here just because I want to cover that up. You can go check it out. I've got a bunch of Fortnite streams from back then on my channel. Do you want to see some more old Fortnite gameplay? Or let me know what you think. Comments down below. But for now, hope you all enjoyed it, and I guess check out the Far Cry Let's Play because I've been having a lot of fun with that. But yeah, goodbye. Snipe the trees, right? I thought this would work better than it did. I thought sniper rifles were like super powerful against scenery because they're high caliber or something. They're not. So the guy can't be up here. So he's behind one of those trees. Oh, there he is. He's in that bush. I've nailed it. I've nailed it. Yes! Victory Royale! Boom! Yeah! Nailed it.